Thank you for joining us on Ask the Experts. I'm your host, Tim Bogatz, and over the course of these episodes, I will be talking with art teaching experts and guiding us through a deep dive into a variety of different media. Each of the questions you hear today have been submitted by a member of our art teaching community. No matter if you are a veteran teacher looking for new ideas, a brand new teacher looking for some guidance, or an experienced teacher who wants to improve their practice, I hope that the advice shared here about teaching each medium can help you. As part of each episode, the show notes will include a plethora of resources to help your teaching if you want to learn even more. Today's guest is Jenn Russell, joining me for a conversation on drawing. I'm thrilled to talk to her, and we have some great topics to cover. Let me bring her on to start the discussion and answer our questions. Jenn Russell, welcome to the show. To begin, can you give all of our listeners an introduction as to who you are, where you teach, what you do?
Yeah. Hi, y'all. My name is Jenn Russell. I am a high school art teacher in North Texas, and I've been teaching for a whole 8th grader now. So that's 13 years, going on 14, which I find unreal. So let's not talk about that. But I have taught drawing for the most part this whole entire time from middle school and then high school. So I've taught both levels.
All right, that is awesome. And your kids do absolutely incredible work, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you for this show and just kind of chat about all the things you do to get such great work from your kiddos, how you teach them, and everything that kind of goes along with that. So, we have a ton of listener questions here. The first one is Ryan in Illinois, and he wants to know what are the best materials in the classroom for graphite, charcoal, and colored pencils.
Okay, so for us, I have kind of sort of like this kit that our students receive when they come into our class. And I know that it's a little hard just in the times that we're at. So typically I try to do it with like class materials. And so we just have a class set of graphite pencils, and then we have a class set of colored pencils. I typically have enough in my budget to give my classes their own set of pencils, like just graphite pencils, and then we share colored pencils just because that's where we're at the current time, which is fine.
Yep.
But everybody gets their own sets of graphite pencils. So that's 6 pencils, everything from a 2H all the way to a 6B, and an eraser and a handheld sharpener. And that is the key.
Yes.
Handheld sharpeners.
I was just going to say, can we talk about handheld
I
sharpeners?
cannot. I do have an electric sharpener just for regular pencils, or, they come with like, I don't want to be rude to Crayola, but like just the regular, matte pencils for their other classes, because I do have a homeroom and an advisory, so other kids live in my room. So just for the sake of having an electric sharpener in a classroom, which I feel like we should have, I have it. But as an art student, it's a handheld sharpener, metal if we can afford it. If it comes in a kit, plastic, that'll do, but metal if we can get it. And that becomes the hottest commodity in class next to the eraser. So once it's lost, the blame game starts, like, who has my sharp? And it just becomes like this really big thing. But I have like a jar up at the front. If they find them, there's always metal handheld sharpeners, just so that the electric sharpener eats your pencil, and it doesn't do a good job at sharpening them either.
No, it doesn't do a good job. And then the graphite, or God forbid you put a colored pencil in there, like it's gonna break off, and then nothing's sharp, and it's barely running, and it's just the
I
biggest
know.
pain.
So I
And
typically keep mine unplugged anyway. It's just there for the looks and the
smart.
vibes of a classroom.
Yes.
But
Yes.
no, we're not doing that. So if they really need to use it, they go and plug it in, but really it's not there. So handheld sharpeners, I make everybody put their name on all their stuff, elementary school style, put your name on every single pencil so that we know it belongs to you. I have a bucket of washi tape. They can decorate their pencils with washi tape and we move on. Whatever I operate on, whatever is on sale. This is
Yes.
where we're at as an art teacher. Okay, just whatever's on sale, whatever I can get the most bulk. But typically, I've been doing a pretty good job. The last couple of years, we've been on Faber Castell, so
Mhm.
we've been doing okay. We've been doing okay, and then I try to just instill in them that we're not going to blame the tools for what we can do. Right, that doesn't
Yes.
matter. I don't actually give them graphite pencils till they've learned to use their own regular HB pencil. So that
Mhm.
comes much later when they're like, I could have gone darker and this is so much smoother. I'm like, yeah, but you had to earn it.
Yeah, you gotta learn
Yeah, we're
first.
not gonna do that. And same thing with colored pencils. We don't get to colored pencils till the nice like Prismacolor until they get much later in the curriculum. So we're looking at drawing 2 and up. Drawing 3,
Mhm.
they get their own set because that's pretty much all they're working on or working
Yeah.
with is just colored pencil or graphite at that point. And so we were Prismacolor, I don't want to say campus. We're not like football sponsored like that, but Prismacolor, if you do want to sponsor me, go ahead. But shameless plug. But yeah, so we get what we can with what we have, and I mean my students have used all sorts of things and have created just wonders. So we do that, and then just anything extra, just blenders also come much later because they try to blend too
Mhm.
early without enough graphite,
Yep.
like just a paper blender, Tertullian, or anything like that. And same thing with colorless blenders. They don't get those either unless I feel confident that they can use it. And most of the times it's a no. So
Right, right.
we're just on the bare minimum here, making things happen with skill.
No, I think that's good, and I would just say I'm pretty much aligned with everything that you're talking about, everything that you have set out. I don't have enough budget money to give everybody their own drawing pencils, so we generally just have, along the cabinet wherever we keep the pencils, I just have a separate bucket for each level. So our 2H pencils go in this
Yes.
bucket, and our 2Bs go here, and our 4Bs go here, and you just put them
Yes.
back when you're done. That works fine. And then as far as colored pencils, I just separate them we have 3 drawers. We have warm colored
Hmm.
pencils, we have cool colored pencils, and then we have our neutrals. And same thing. And they generally use the Blick student colored pencils or studio colored
Yes.
pencils, which, quality is good enough for when you get started. And then when we get advanced, then we dive into the Prismacolors.
Right.
And again, I'm not going to be mad if Prismacolor wants to sponsor, if they want to send us some free
I
materials.
mean,
Like I'm open to it.
we're PRing here, so just a cute little PR box would be
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. And then I would just say, I believe Ryan asked about graphite, charcoal, and colored pencils.
Oh yes.
With charcoal, I have vine charcoal just for kind of the experience, but we don't really do much with it just 'cause, like, whatever. It's a novelty for
Yes.
me. It's something fun we'll draw with for a day or two. Nothing that we do a lot with, but I do have a lot of compressed charcoal, and we do some large scale works with that, and we can do some cool things. It's not in my regular rotation of drawing materials, but I think any compressed charcoal is going to be fine for your students. So I don't have any strong preferences with that. So Jen, any thoughts on charcoal?
We use charcoal mainly for still lives, just as we're, just a foundation in our Art 1 class.
Hmm.
I like to get their hands on as much drawing material as possible so that
Yes.
they have
Yeah.
experienced it and they know, hey, moving on, I can use this if I choose. I have lots of vine, but vine goes away the quickest because it just disintegrates
Right.
so quickly,
It
or
breaks, it
it
crumbles, it
falls on the floor
disintegrates.
and then it's everywhere. I'm like, okay. So we have a ton of vine and I have a lot of compressed charcoal that I've just collected throughout the years. And that again becomes
Mhm.
what I can find for the cheapest because I
Yeah.
used to put it in everybody's kit. And just, I forgot to preface this earlier, but my students do pay a lab fee to take my class. And so they
Okay.
do, and we have dwindled it because again, of where we're at. What they do get to keep just a lot comes from that fee money. And
Right.
so I used to put charcoal pencils in their kit, but just it has had to go away. So I've kept a lot of it, or if they leave it, I'll just put it back into the drawers. They do still life and a portrait with charcoal, and I don't have a brand preference there. It is whatever works, just so that they get the experience, especially in the lower levels.
Yeah, I think we are perfectly aligned with that, and that's exactly how I treat it as well. So, next question. This comes from Cheyenne in Ohio, and Cheyenne asks, "Where did you learn how to draw, and how did you get good? And what advice would you give students about getting good at drawing?" And Cheyenne, you're making assumptions that I'm actually good at drawing. I don't know if that's fair or not,
Right.
but no, I will say I'm okay, but I definitely know how to teach it. Jen, I'd love to hear from you. Like how did you get good, and what advice do you have for Cheyenne or for your students as far as like improving your drawing skill?
Yeah, I am very lucky that I still have parents that encourage me to do whatever nonsense came to my head from a very early age. My dad still jokes that he still vacuums glitter up from the carpet, which now I do not allow glitter in my classroom. I'm very stringent on it.
Same,
Um,
same.
I can't do it. So thanks, mom and dad, for that. I have been drawing since I was a kid. I mean, it started really early with like I wanted to be like a fashion designer. So I
Yeah.
would draw clothes, and then I started drawing the people, like the models that went in the clothes, and somehow the models always looked like me. And then I just started drawing faces, and then it went from faces to just eyes. And then I had a teacher tell me once that like drawing eyes was a sign of like going mad. And for like 2 weeks,
Interesting.
I thought, yeah, because it was my math teacher. She didn't want me doodling on
Okay.
my paper.
Okay.
And for a while, I just thought that I was going a little insane. And then my art teacher was like, no, she just wants you to stop drawing on the worksheets. And I was like, oh, I always. I always took art. Like we have had art in the curriculum since we're little, and I grew up in Houston, Texas, and then I started drawing cows for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which just passed. Entering it into scholarship stuff in high school, and it's just, and I tell my kids, because it's part of it is muscle memory, right? You have to keep drawing in order to get better and in order to keep your skills. But drawing, they get a little jealous because someone is innately good at drawing. I just was never that kid who could just automatically draw. I just liked the creative aspect of it. And so I literally had to learn, and I had to keep practicing. And so that's just how I continue. And sometimes I go for a while where I don't draw because I do other art mediums,
Mm-hmm.
but then I come back to class and I'm like, oh yeah, I get to draw with the kids. And so I always tell them, I'm like, you guys are my practice while I'm teaching you to do this. And, y'all inspire me or whatever. But I give my students the same advice that my art teacher, who still teaches art, by the way, gave me, is just, you just have to keep going, keep doing it, keep going. There is no, in her words, there's just, you can't suck at art. You just can't. There's, comparing yourself to other people is not the way to go. It's just whatever your style is, you have to find it, and then you have to keep going. And I show my kids, I still have sketchbooks from college. They're again on the disintegrating path, and I'm sad. I'm so sad. But I show them, and I'm like, even in college as a senior, the first time that I took figure drawing, because my degree plan changed and then it became mandatory, I've been trying to avoid it. I was like, I can't
Yeah.
do it. I can't do
Yeah.
it. But that was one of the best classes I took. And then I took it again my last semester. I showed them my sketchbook from that class, and I'm like, look at where I started. And this is me
Mm-hmm.
4 years
Mm-hmm.
into college. I'm like, if I can learn at 22 to relearn everything, you can learn now at 16. Like, you totally can.
Yep. Yep.
So I
Yeah.
just,
No, you said something about comparing themselves to others, and the quote that I always use as a kid: "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I think
yes,
that's so important to just kind of find your own personal style and do what you enjoy. And as far as getting good, it's just about practice, and it's just about doing
yes,
things. And so, for me, I had what I did in high school, which I like to show my kids, and then I have, what I did in college. And I don't know, like, my students are so far ahead of where I was in high school, it's not even funny, and so
Yes.
I like to show them,
I'm like,
like,
you guys are so
right,
great.
right, y'all are doing some incredible stuff compared to what I was doing at age 16 or 17. And then, yeah, I got a little better in college, and then I finally got good when I was doing my master's degree. Like, that's when I really, I think, came into my own as far as drawing goes. And like, it's okay if you're 27 or 28 before you actually get good at stuff. And I like to just let them know that it's a journey. Like, it takes a while. So just kind of
Yes.
experiment and explore and have fun with what you're doing. But the more you practice and the better you do, or the more often you do things, the better you're going to get. So that would be my advice:
Yes.
is just practice, practice, practice. Find what you enjoy, find what you're comfortable with, and kind of pursue that. All
Yes.
right. Next question. This is from Tori in Colorado. And Tori asks, who is your favorite artist that works in pencil or colored pencil? I'm looking for someone that I can show my students. So, Jen, a couple suggestions for artists that work in pencil or colored pencil.
Yes. It's funny because we have the same person in mind.
Okay.
I try to show my students a range of
Mm-hmm.
artists. And I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but my students the last few years have forgotten search engines. Like they don't know how to search for anything on the internet. And I literally pull it up and I'm like, if I type in colored pencil artists, what pops up? And then we talk about the people that pop up. And every year is different
Mm-hmm.
because, search is ever
Yes.
evolving. I for sure show them CJ Henry. I mean, I can't even describe that, right? But that's like the top tier
Mm-hmm.
where you are so photorealistic that you have to get up close. And sometimes even then you're like,
Right.
I
Right.
don't know. I don't
Right.
know. Right. So I'm like, okay, this is what you could do, right? If we every day hit it hard, if we blend like how I teach you to blend, if you're just like in the grind of it
Mm-hmm.
all. And then, I'm like, I am really big on showing them kids that they would have known that I've
Yes.
had. I also show them like this year, because I just did this. We just started the semester, so I just did this. This year we found a new artist, and I want to make sure that I pronounce this name correctly. Her name is Annie Putakuk, and she is an Indigenous artist from Canada. And so we got the opportunity to learn all about her because I was like, if she's new to me, she's definitely going to be new to you, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe not, because the internet, again, ever evolving, a vast wild west of a
Yes.
place. And they were like, wait, she's in galleries. And what makes her art so great, it's so forward, it's so frank, it is a narrative telling, but unlike CJ Henry that's like blended to perfection, Annie just takes the colored pencil and leaves it.
Mm.
There's no blending of color. It is whatever blue came out of the box is the blue you're going to get, and you can see paper through it, which whoa for me. Whoa for me. But I'm like, y'all, there's a message behind this. And if you have the message behind it, and if you have the will and you have something to say, you can art.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to show them just a vast variety, including mixed media, because sometimes that's a part of it, just so that we learn a new person every time.
Yeah.
That partly comes because sometimes I get bored, but
Right.
I just expand the horizons. And most of what I've been doing the last couple of years is just trying to inspire and motivate.
Mm-hmm.
And while CJ is just the goal, I'm like, you can also do this and still be a producing
Yeah,
artist.
for sure.
And it's great.
There's steps along the way. Like, not everybody can
Yes.
be at that pinnacle, and there are other ways of doing
Yes.
things.
Yeah. So I've been really just, I love that we found her. Again, we do this search exercise
Good.
together because I don't know how to search. And I love that we found her together, and like it just became kind of, we were piecing this biography and where did she exhibit and where is she from, and it was an awesome experience for my kids to
Yeah,
see.
that's very cool.
So
No, I love that idea. And that's something I would encourage people to do also whenever they're looking for new artists. Like explore along with your kids. Like it doesn't have to be on you
yeah,
as a teacher to find everything. Like you can do that along with your
yes,
kids and have some discussions along the way. So
yes,
I like that. The so yeah, CJ Hendry is the one for me when it comes to colored pencils. With drawing, I love, like we've been using graphite for centuries, and so it's really fun to be like,
right,
hey, here's what Albrecht Dürer and Da Vinci were doing with
yes,
pencils way back when. Then we look at what artists are doing now. One photorealistic graphite artist that I love is named Kent Bellows, and he's from Omaha. I'm from Omaha, so my kids have that automatic connection. He
yes,
died in 2005, I want to say. His work is absolutely incredible. So if you're looking for a photorealistic artist that will capture students' attention, look up Kent Bellows. Definitely recommend him and his work. I also love Vija Selmans. She was working back in the 70s, but she would do
yes,
graphite drawings of just like the waves of the ocean or like the desert floor and these weird intricate
yes,
things that are just spectacularly rendered. And I think it's one that captures kids' attention as well. So yeah, Ken Bellows, Vija
yes.
Selmans would be my recommendations for graphite.
She's got a good car
Yes.
series that I always
Yeah.
show my kids 'cause I'm like, you like cars? Look at this." Yeah, you know, I just, anything gets them.
Like whatever connections you can find, like pursue those. And I think
Yes,
that's
yes.
worthwhile. Okay, next question coming from Texas. This is from Annette.
Whoop, whoop.
And we're going to dive in a little bit more. What are your best tips and best tricks for drawing realistically? We kind of mentioned just the idea of drawing realistically, but what are the specific
Yes.
things that you teach, specific techniques or skills or little tricks for helping drawings look a little bit more realistic?
Okay, so I'm gonna need everybody to take a field trip to my classroom so we can have a hands-on
Yeah.
workshop and let's go through my curriculum. We I really okay, I try to tell my kids that drawing realistically, it is wonderful,
Hmm.
right? They all want to do it, and then they get frustrated when they can't out of the gate. And I'm like, that's not the goal out the gate. You have to learn all these things
Hmm.
before. So, first, we need to manipulate our tools. So, and I've said this, I think, on AOEU 107 times at some point,
Yes.
a value scale and just learning how to handle your pencil, value scale, lines, practicing like literally just doodling or scumbling really with your
Hmm.
pencil is invaluable. Like when I see kids just drawing just for I just the first couple weeks I just want to see what you're doing, and I flip their paper over. I'm like, I can read your paper on the other side. Like, your paper's
Maybe just
crying. You're hurting
relax a little
her.
bit.
You're hurting her. Right? I'm like, okay, let's take it back a little bit. So just learning the pressure points of the pencil, how you as a student like your pencil. Like, I'm all value. Like, I'm a heavy
Hmm.
value
Hmm.
person. I love my drawings dark and moody. And some of my kids aren't like that, and that's okay. But we just got to work on those skills of like, how do you know how far you can go on your pencil with your paper? A value scale, you need to learn the values. Same thing with colored pencil. Those are both interchangeable. And then we got to learn some things, right? Like, what are we going to draw? If we're drawing people, you got to learn the parts of the
Yes.
face. So we got to jump through those. If we're going to do the still life, I do still life with graphite and with charcoal. Okay, so now we gotta do the viewfinder, we gotta practice, I do, the half of the magazine face to match the values, like take a picture of like some rocks outside, we gotta match those values. And their phones are great because they turn them
Yes.
black and white, like we don't have to print out the pictures and copy them anymore, which is, wow, we've made it. But like, some of y'all won't know because y'all haven't had that struggle, and I barely had the struggle, so I can't really say much on that. But we just have to understand the basic physical skills first, and then we can
Hmm.
get into proportion and detail. And I always tell the kids, the number one thing that I tell them when they say they want to draw realistically, I'm like, okay, then your outlines have to go away. Like,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
no more outlines. There's no more lines, period. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, understand what that means, because your coloring sheet of a drawing has to go away. Like, there's no more, you're going to outline some hair. Like, no, that makes your
Mm-hmm.
person a Lego person. Like, we're done here. And that's hard even for my high schoolers to kind of let go of. And
For
so,
sure.
but those are things that we talk about at the very beginning of class, and we do lots of drills. Like, it's a practice of every day till this day. Every
Mm-hmm.
day we draw and we shade every day.
Yeah. Well, and I was just gonna say, I use the Karate Kid analogy with my students, and like very few of them have seen the movie, but those that have absolutely understand. When Daniel has to like paint the fence
Yeah,
and wax the car, and like he doesn't understand why he's doing those things, but then when it's time to perform, he has those skills that he needs. And
yeah,
that's exactly why we're doing contour drawing. It's exactly why we're doing value scales and still life studies and all of these little things that build up to, actual eventual drawings. And so I like to just tell them about that. And again, even if they haven't seen it, they kind of understand the concept. We're just kind of building those skills, and they will all come together in the end to allow you to create some good drawings. But other than that, I don't think I have much to add. I feel like you have a lot of very good advice there.
I try my best. It's an every year adjustment at this point. But I will say that I've had a few. I'm at the point now where I've had two students that have graduated from college and are now teaching, and they're like, I hated it. I hated it so much, but like still life boot camp and value boot camp, I now do with my kids. And I'm like, I told you, yes, we did it. We did it.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Yep.
That's it. And they're like, it's so good. I'm like, I know. It
I know.
hurts. So good. It sucks, but it's so great for you.
I was
So
gonna say, but like once they start creating those really, really good works, it's
yeah,
validating. Like, see, like that's what we've been building up to. And
right.
you don't want to be like, see, I told you, but at the same time, like absolutely you did.
Yeah. But remember when we were whining and crying about it? But look at your drawing now. It's so beautiful.
Exactly. Exactly. Next question. This comes from Danielle in New Jersey. Danielle asks, curricular strategies. Where do you start? What does that lead into? What is the end goal? What are your goals for different classes? I don't know if we have time to dive into all of our
Yeah,
classes, but
like,
Jen, can you just talk a little bit about progression
yeah.
of, from course to course? Like, what are you looking for from kids? How does one thing lead into another? What are some of your big curricular goals?
Basically, our program is built on so foundation art one, and then you get to choose what area you go to. And I have been doing drawing, and so for me, I want you to get a good sense of all of the media that you can. And then
Mhm.
in level two, we're going to get some skills, but I'm still going to let you do some fun things. Like we do a comic book, some just things that kind of build upon that where, okay, I'm not going to drill and kill you with the realistic no outline. So here's some outlining, some illustration that you're still used to, and can build those illustration skills if that's the chosen way that you've gone. And then, really, when we get to drawing three, it's a lot of anatomy breakdown, lots of portraiture, just lots of mixed media exploration. And four is really tied to AP. So four is almost like, okay, let's start exploring some ideas. And then AP, we're getting into just your portfolio. Hey, remember all these ideas
Say,
that you had? Pick one maybe and let's explore it fully for your sustained investigation. And so
yep.
for drawing, that's how it works for me. And our classes are 18 weeks long, which I know is really hard for a lot of people to conceptualize. So we switch from semester to semester. So I get whole new kids in
Mhm.
January. And so that's kind of how we break down. But within those 18 weeks, the first 9 weeks is all of the drill stuff that we have to do, building your skills, getting
Yeah.
your materials under control. How do you getting your muscles, your hand under control? And then the second 9 weeks is where all the fun, big projects come, right? So here's your reward for doing all of these things. I know that we kind of it was just the grind, and you just smile and nodded, and just, but here's, you get to go free. So, hey, your comic book. And they're like, okay, what do we do? I'm like, make me a comic book. Whatever. Can I make a graphic novel? Sure. And so they kind of get creative freedom the last half of their class using the skills that we had in the first 9 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common setup people have where we have a foundations or an intro
Yeah.
course and then you kind of build from there. And I would second that thought just of getting kids to explore as many different media as they can in that intro course, find some things that they enjoy, but also find some things that are going to develop those skills. And, you mentioned this earlier, but I feel like so many kids want to draw realistically, for better or for worse. Like that's what they equate with success
Mm-hmm.
is being able to draw realistically. And so, that's what I teach them. And I think that's important to kind of develop those skills. And if you don't need those skills later because you're exploring something else, that's fine. But if you have them, you're going to be so much better off. So I try and do that as much as possible. Like you said, build those skills and then, kind of set them free after that.
Yeah.
My end goal, I guess, to answer Danielle's question would be to have kids develop that personal style,
Yes.
or like you said, find that topic that they really want to explore, that something they want to do for their sustained investigation.
Right.
And even if they don't get to that point, if they can get past all of the cliches of like drawing eyeballs, the super moody artworks that we see from sophomores all the time, then I'm very happy about that. But if we can get them to kind of explore the things that they're interested in, bring some personal voice into the work, that's kind of the end goal for me. And I would say too, just ask your kids like what are their goals? Like what do they want to explore? What do they want to do? And if you have enough freedom in your curriculum, like let them explore those things. And
Right.
I think that's a good way that they can find some success.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I don't have, I have like maybe 4 projects that are consistent. Everything else changes. And then sometimes kids are like, we didn't get to do that. I'm like, you didn't ask. So, I'm like, it just changes for me literally semester to semester. But
Yeah, I mean, as a teacher, I want to explore new things too. Like
right.
I get bored teaching the same things over and over
Yeah.
again, and so yeah, we continue to explore too, and I think that's important. Next question is from Niling in Minnesota, and she says, "Please tell me why I should have my students working with pastels. I hate them in every way." So, Jen, do you have any nice things to say about pastels?
Okay, listen, I will say, okay, soft pastels and oil pastels, I know people feel some type of way about both of those things.
Yes.
I actually like them. I want to incorporate them more. And the last few years, I've had pastel kids, and I love it.
Okay.
Um, I, to me, one of the things about that I hear constantly about colored pencils, right, from the kids and for myself, it takes forever
Well, it
and a
does.
day.
I mean, it does take
It
forever.
does, and it 100% does, and I'm like, "I know, but think of the end result, it looks so good," right? But pastels have the same effect without the grind of a colored pencil, right?
Mhm.
Without the wear and tear of you hunched over, like,
Yes.
4 pencils in your hand, and you're just like, the top of your head is the only thing we can see, right? Which I love that look in my classroom.
Yeah.
I really, really do, because 'cause I'm me, but I also love when they discover pastels and they discover they can manipulate them and still get a punch of color. Really
Yes.
is, for me, one of the selling points is just the vibrancy of it all. Then also just how much ground you can cover
Mhm.
in a short amount of time is unreal. Plus, they get to explore different papers, which is hard sometimes. I'm like, why don't you try a different tooth to a paper? And they're like, no, I'm going to stick to the. Okay, they stick to what they know. So maybe in trying pastels, we get a different paper or a different tone of paper, which is another thing that I'm trying to get my kids to do. Just not on white, guys. Like, there's so much we can do, y'all. Come on. And so with pastel, both soft and oils definitely sticky and harder to clean up. But once they
Mhm.
get it, they love it, and they love just the hands-on of it. And so if you're looking for something a little bit more physical, especially with oil, they love like the blending because they want to do that with graphite and smudge it. But I am
Right.
like I have a megaphone in my room and I sound the siren if I see it. No, I am the most annoying and embarrassing teacher of all time. I also have a karaoke mic that I hop on and I'm like, I saw smudging, I start singing weird things. Oil pastels specifically, I mean, soft pastels too, but you want to be a little bit more refined with the blending and smudging. But oil
Mhm.
pastel finger blending is
Yeah.
game.
Smear
Yeah,
away.
it is
Just
game,
go.
and they love it. And so I try to at least, especially like in art one and drawing two, sneak in some oil pastels, like pop art type, Warhol style, so that
Mhm.
the realism doesn't get in the way, the skin tone blending or the color matching doesn't get in the way, so that they can be a little bit more free with it. So I secretly love them, and now it's not a secret because I admitted it, but
Fair, fair.
I like them.
Yeah, I would say I love that freedom as well. Just sort of the chance to do something really expressive,
Right.
the chance to experiment, like you talked about with different types of paper, different sizes, and really kind of you can go for it with pastels. And I really like that fact. I love the texture of them. I love the way they blend. I love the vibrant color, like all of those things you talked about. And I know, and I can commiserate with Nylang here, like cleaning them up if when they get ground into the floor is a
I know.
struggle. Like that is an art teacher nightmare for sure. But honestly, up until that point, they're actually easy to clean. Soft pastels.
Mhm.
I know they have the reputation of being a giant mess, but the period's over, you take your paper and dump everything, like all the powder, into the trash. You get a wet paper towel, and it takes 10 seconds to clean up your table.
Yeah.
Like it's not that bad. So I know they have a reputation because, when they get smashed, it is a nightmare, but they're not that bad. So I don't know that they deserve the poor reputation they have amongst art teachers. So if you're listening to this, this is your sign. This is your encouragement
Right.
to give them a try. Okay, final question for you, Jen. This is from
Yes.
James in Tennessee, and James says, how do you get students to work on a piece for a long amount of time? This is perfect. Going back to our colored pencil discussion. My kids give up so quickly, they can't work for a solid 90 minutes, and they definitely don't want to stay with the same project for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Oh man. So I feel like, especially post COVID, this is one of the biggest struggles that our teachers are having. So Jen, I would love any advice that you have, or just any stories from what you're seeing when it comes to kids and being able to work on something for an extended period of time.
Yes. I talked about motivation a little bit earlier. That is, I have been a cheerleader now since COVID. And it's definitely the hardest part of my job. I cheered in high school and college. I don't want to do it anymore, but it just is now the new normal, which is okay. I get where we're at. And okay, so I added that hat onto the billion other hats we wear, right? I also have a 90-minute class, and
Hmm.
sometimes our big projects do run 2 weeks. And it it is a grind for them. I try to break up the class so that they're not working the whole 90 minutes. So the first 10 to 15 minutes, I will either do, they have like a warm up, they need to do like their hand drawing in their sketchbook, or sometimes we just talk about like pop culture, something art related, just something that welcomes them into class and like gets them in a good spirit and a good mood to get going. Then I'm like, okay, everybody grab your stuff and let's go. I break it up into chunks. I'm like, okay, 30, 40 minutes, that's fine. It's picture time. I'm trying to get my students into
Oh,
the
I like
habit
it.
of
Yeah.
documenting their work and their progress. So I'm like, okay, it's picture time. We take a picture at the beginning of class, we take a picture in the middle of class, and at the end of class. I'm like, you should have a camera roll, specifically an album for your art, right? Especially this is a good habit to start if we're going to go to
Hmm.
AP, which is always the goal for every single one of my kids, whether they make it or not, that's a different story. But that's the goal for every single one of my kids. Okay, so either that or in the middle of class, I'm like, okay, put your pencils down, everybody up, push your chairs in, and we're walking. I want you to see what everybody else has done in this time. So if Johnny Appleseed hasn't done anything because he's having a day, and that resulted in we're playing games on our device all class, okay, you don't have anything to show for it. Right? So maybe we'll get that motivation going there. Or, hey, that's really good. How did you do that? Show me how you did that. That's the best thing that comes out of like these impromptu gallery
Yep.
walks. Like, hey, how did you do that with your pencil? And then they end up teaching each other. Or like, hey, come show me. And they're like, I don't know. Or I've had kids suggest that they do a time lapse. They're like, dude, your stuff is so good. You should time lapse that. And then they set it up and they'll do it. You know, they're all about posting and social media and all that. And so I also encourage them to post once a week. It could be on their Finsta or whatever they call it. It could be on their TikTok. It could be on their art Instagram. I don't care. Post it somewhere so that you get this idea of being like, not necessarily a producing artist, but almost, right? So that something holds you accountable.
I was just going to say that's sort of an outside version of accountability, which I think
Yes.
is important.
And so that's how I break up my class. And, you know, we have to take breaks because if not, we're not going to make it. And then sometimes I do 2 projects concurrently. So they're running at the same time. So I'm like, okay, today's going to be an I study day. And we're going to put our graphic novels aside for just today so that they don't get burned out on the same thing.
Yeah, I think all of that is great advice. I would just say I do a lot of the same things. I work a little bit of art history in there as we can. I will do some discussions or critique, sometimes a little more formal than just like, hey, how did you do this? Or, hey, I really like what you have going on, because I think those things can be good. And then just the idea of bringing in other lessons, I think is worthwhile. I always try to have multiple things for my kids to work on. So whether that be like a weekly sketchbook assignment, a second assignment, a design challenge or a drawing challenge, just anything that if they're not feeling the assignment that day, like there's an alternative to what they can do. Whether they actually follow through and go for that alternative is a different story, but you got to make it available. So yeah, I think that's important, is just to give them options, both that you are leading, whether that be extra instruction, extra discussion, whatever, or just things that they can kind of explore on their own. Just give them some other options. And I think that that can solve a lot of those problems. We're never going to solve them all. We're never going to get our kids working as much as we would like them to. But if you can give them that option, then I think it's beneficial for everybody. So, all right. So many awesome questions. And Jen, this has been a great discussion. So thank you for answering everything. And thank you for all of this amazing advice.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you to Jen for her expertise and for answering all of our questions. If you want to continue your learning, I'm going to highlight a few of the links that you can find in the show notes. We will link to 4 pro packs, a couple of them with basic ideas, just think along the lines of the building blocks of drawing, and some more advanced ideas, more along the lines of rethinking your drawing curriculum. But each of these pro packs have so much important knowledge. They have great ideas for your art room, with conversation about how to teach those ideas, and some great resources that you can use and some that your students can use as well. It is the perfect place to do a deep dive into some thoughts and strategies about teaching drawing. We are also linking to 2 collections from AOEU's Flex Curriculum. One is on one-day drawing lessons, and the other is about experimenting with portraiture. There are some wonderful lessons in there, and these collections also include videos, assessments, other resources for students, including planning sheets, drawing examples, drawing guides, all sorts of great stuff, artist bios, career cards, so much more. We also have some additional resources that you might find worthwhile, including some magazine articles and some podcast episodes with Jen and with other guests. Finally, if you want to start on or improve your own drawing practice, we will also include a link to the Art of Education University graduate course called Studio Drawing. Please explore, enjoy, and find the resources that are right for you and for your students. We appreciate you listening to Ask the Experts. This show's produced, edited, and engineered by me, Tim Bogatz, and is part of the Art of Education University podcast network. Stick with us through all of our episodes as we explore photography, ceramics, painting, printmaking, drawing, sculpture, and more. Thank you for listening.